The time will not be on your calendar, but in your spirit when a murmur becomes too great to shatter you. Belonging to what is killing you, you are remaining faithful. You are taught to be weak, not because you are weak. As a virtue, one is instructed to bear suffering, shown how to conflate adversity with power, instructed to conflate treachery with affection, guided to remain in the place where one's soul is fading, only because it's been there before. You persisted in participating in activities that diminished you, clung to the comforts of home even when they were unbearable, and returning you to the patterns that stoke your passion. There is no loyalty in this. On a spiritual level, this is a slow death. Ask yourself if this is your programming or destiny. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, because protecting that relationship, job, or identity isn't protecting you from harm. That's what's holding you back. You aren't doing enough to keep the calm. By clinging to your jail, you claim to be faithful. However, genuine devotion starts with the reality. Additionally, the reality is straightforward. Nothing is worth your allegiance if it requires you to sacrifice your light. Let go of the hurt you've experienced. They aren't personal. Put an end to supporting toxic patterns simply because they are predictable. You were never meant to be a helpless victim of your history. You have the innate ability to shape your own destiny. This should serve as a turning point, but not a motivating one. Rather, it should serve as a surgical one, in which you meticulously remove all attachments that hinder your becoming. Free yourself. Disengage from. Your energy is dwindling. Detach yourself from your limitations. Release whatever is murmuring. Minimize your footprint. Keep your fear at bay. Remain unchanged. Quietly surviving this life is not your destiny. You are destined to stand tall, complete, and unmoved. However, the first step is to abandon the thing that is slowly killing you. Put out the fire that is consuming your potential. When it's really lost, you can't call it love. The exact thing you are fighting for will eventually consume you if you stay put. And you are already aware of this. It was palpable in the stillness, in the midst of diversions. Not anxiousness, but that dull pain in your chest. The truth is attempting to be heard. As you grinned in the face of tragedy, you were touched by it. When you silently agreed with someone whose words wounded your spirit. When you lingered on even after your soul had departed. Feeling that pain, that constriction in your chest. Listen closely. It's your inner universe pleading with you to make a self-choice. However, you have been instructed to disregard it. You learned early on to shrink yourself so that other people wouldn't see you as a threat. Instructed to maintain a sunny disposition. While doing so silenced you. Experienced firsthand how draining it is to be alone. I was taught that if you want to keep the peace, you had to give up lying. Here we have weakness. This is spiritual forgetfulness. Along the way, you began to conflate the two concepts of living and surviving. Fitting in with the crowd was mistaken for belonging. You equated ease with security. But safety in a stagnant state is degradation. Even if you're dying on the spot, it's hardly heroic to remain still and resist change. This is the ultimate act of treachery, since going with what you know always works. As you struggle for justice, a part of you dies. You hurt your neurological system every time you lie to avoid conflict. If you keep acting as if everything is okay when in fact it isn't, you'll eventually come to believe that you don't matter. But you are important. Your honesty is important. Feeling good is important. We value your opinion. You are free to depart at any time. Making better choices does not necessitate validation. You are not due another opportunity because of your pain. I have something to pay you. Being in harmony with one's life. An unburdened heart free from pretense. Without a doubt, not negotiating its own value any longer. And it begins the second you refuse to remain loyal to the thing that is causing you harm. Definitely not step by step. Not when it's comfortable. No, take it apart. The evil job, the depleting companion, the self-apologetically powerful you. Tear it out with respect, not fury. Simply put, you are acting out of love and not hatred. Love for what is ahead. Love for the tranquility you seek, and love for the you that awaits the other side of the separation. As you let go of past allegiances, new beginnings will unfold. The moment you learn to let go of your attachment to suffering, you'll be able to fully embrace your potential. Furthermore, there is no toggle for that change, for that internal uprising. There's a fire. The beginning is a spark, a moment of silence. After that, it starts to burn. That was the last one. At last, it becomes the law in your jurisdiction. What breaks me, I will not serve. Rewriting your nervous system is what that legislation does. It helps you readjust your choices. Your relationships, routines, and reality are all rearranged as a result. Guilt is no longer the reason you stay. Your explanations have become outdated. Expose yourself to individuals who are determined to misinterpret you. You have outgrown the need to be easily digestible. You have come a long way from lowering your standards to save others. Reason being, this is the harsh reality. A lot of folks would rather you stay sick. Their recovery reveals their choices, not that they are evil. Their ease is jeopardized by your ascent. They lose control when you set boundaries. However, your purpose is not to be easily digested. Undeniable you is your purpose here. The general public does not need to comprehend your purpose. This is your location to earn your respect. So be it if losing people is what it takes to discover who you are. If staying true to yourself requires disappointing others, then so be it. I don't mind if you have to go it alone sometimes, because being alone is preferable than being with pretend friends. Why? Because standing still during alignment speaks louder than cheers throughout a performance. Allow others to misunderstand you. Make it seem like you transformed. It was you. You transformed into somebody who refuses to settle, into a person who values tranquility more than approval, into a person who values their own future and doesn't give it up to prioritize the comfort of others. No, that isn't egocentric. That is holy. As a result, take a deep breath in. Regardless, when the murmurs of uncertainty shift, run ahead even when your fears tell you to turn around. You are becoming someone who is unrecognizable to your past with every stride you take away from what is harming you. Someone who is no longer scared. Someone who has stopped explaining things. Someone whose performance has ceased. Someone who is no longer confined because they were able to, due to their free will. And making your own choice isn't a picnic. It's a battle. Feel the usual tug every morning when you get up. The pressure to fit in, to do what's expected of us, to conform, to play it safe. You have to fight fire with the old ways of doing things, the people who used to be a part of them, and the patterns that they whisper come back. Be who you were. I am no longer that person. I interred him, because you will face challenges such as loneliness, temptation, and the alluring longing for a bygone era. However, sentimentality lies. The lusciousness is recalled while the decay is disregarded. It reminisces about the ease and disregards the expense. It will attempt to change events so that you forget what poisoned you. Be skeptical. You betray your future self by being loyal to your past existence. Furthermore, you will never construct what lies ahead if you persist in circling back. Leaving the remnants of the previous world behind prevents you from constructing a new one. Your growth is now an absolute must. When something is meant to shatter you, you quit attempting to mend it. You must cease requesting approval from individuals who profit by keeping quiet. Your faith in the same flame that consumed you will eventually go out. That's the end of naivete. Also, clarity is derived from death. Shockingly clear, surgically crisp. Games are visible to you. Observation reveals patterns. You can see how you continued to choose your demise and accept it as destiny. The brave who never battle for their independence are the ones who tell the falsehood of fate. You're not meant to play a supporting role in someone else's story. Inheriting wounds as identity is not your purpose here. You aren't in this to get hurt, subtly upholding long-standing customs. It is your mission to disrupt the status quo and end the script. Because you are helping more people than just yourself, it is painful. A lineage is being healed by you. What ought to have ended decades ago is being finished by you. You are setting your ancestors' chains on fire. Even if it's hefty, it's sacred. A holy place, You can't avoid it. Quit being faithful to things that are hurting you, and begin to show unwavering devotion to the destiny that you were destined to build. Reason being, by breaking away from what your family has always considered normal, you not only alter your story, but also write a new chapter that did not exist before. You become into the one who remains silent. Embrace the light once more. Putting on a show for love's sake is over. Forget about shedding blood to keep others warm. No more clinging to toxic things and claiming to be resilient in the process. The key to true resilience is escaping the things that hurt you. Even when you're trembling, it's going away. This is a stroll. Let it alone, no matter how much your soul longs for its repair. It's deciding to go somewhere scary instead of somewhere familiar, because the familiar is stifling your spirit. Plus, no one will ever get you. Allow them to gaze. Permit them to inquire. Permit them to murmur. In the systems from which you have just emerged, they remain dormant. Comfort will be lost, but clarity will be gained. People will leave you, but you'll come to know who you are. Freedom comes with the loss of familiarity. Freedom is not a kind thing. It is rough. Forcefully removing all that you formerly considered to be your home. However, what if the only purpose of your house was to ensure its own survival? Imagine if it showed you how to be afraid to love, how to be small for the sake of loyalty, and how to be patient instead of progressive. Burning it to the ground is the most sacred act you could possibly perform. It is this flame that stirs you to life. If losing my serenity is the price of the visible fire, it is too high. It would be a betrayal if it took away my mission. This ends today, even if it means giving up my future. There is no drama here. Doomness has struck. There has been no uprising. It has. Recalls your past self before you lost touch with it. To the essence of your being, hidden within the programming of the primal energy that has patiently waited for you to pay attention for what feels like an eternity. This is what it is currently telling you. Devotion is a virtue, but deceitful allegiance leads to ruin. You are not to remain. In order to survive, it is your duty to see clearly, act courageously, and cut cleanly. You have arrived at the entrance, the juncture where your past and future selves meet. Not a single soul. I can show you the way over. Absent guide, guidebook, rescuer. Here is the one you want. Dispersed, holy, merciless, unfettered. The old you will try to reassert itself. The dead will beg you to stay faithful when they speak. Your cage's comforting embrace will stay with you. However, you have decided not to return now that the door is open. This is a ripped veil. It was all a delusion. No doubt about it. You were never justified in giving your life for those things, the systems, the beliefs, or the people. Silence, guilt, and your inaction were their food sources. They bestowed upon you dread and referred to it as knowledge. However, you now have an innate physical understanding of this. Being required no longer entices you. Acceptance crumbs no longer gratify you. You have broken your dependence on maintaining a facade of security while leading a life that is quietly draining you. Truth is in your veins and fire is in your lungs, and you're here right now. When bestowed upon dysfunction, loyalty ceases to be virtuous, as you have come to realize. The habits that held you back have nothing to do with who you are now. The wounds owe you nothing. That prevented you from standing up. No debt is due to the past self that ensured your survival at the expense of your future self-discovery. Now more than ever, the bond you create with yourself is the sole allegiance that counts. Being loyal to who you are becoming, being loyal to what brings you peace, and being loyal to what you envision, even when no one else does. In particular at that time, certainly, there will be mourning. Evolution is a burial. Some of you may have to lay to rest the selves you once adored. The solace you mistakenly believed was love will cause you sorrow. One day you'll miss the individuals who are unable to accompany you on your journey. However, that anguish, it is sacred. A shackle-breaking sound has been detected. This is what freedom costs. Beyond that sorrow lies an identity of yours that is so strong, distinct, and obvious that everyone will start to mistake you for someone else. Finally, and most crucially, you will know who you are. Quick, get up. Neither mild nor courteous. Ascend like a tempest that annihilates every deceit. Get up and run like the day of reckoning your forefathers hoped would arrive. Stand tall like the one who has at last lifted the curse, while leaving nothing but graves in your wake. Press onward, and the world beyond, just waiting to be ruled by the one who finally turned their back on the forces that were destroying them. Keep moving ahead without turning around. Not a single time. Those who are the strongest won't be the most vocal. They're not the ones trying to garner attention by showing off their authority, bluster, or confidence, because they have achieved a hallowed level of mastery. The most powerful individuals in a room tend to be the most silent. Confidence in declining requests. They know exactly who they are and what they will not be, not because they are afraid or insecure, but because they are clear and convinced. To you, it seems like the key to strength is to get more of everything. Following, yes, approval, hustling, and more. Being unshakable, however, does not begin with more. Less is more at the outset. Who ends up with the cut? Who gets to make the call? Starting with the inner boundary that declares, "This is who I am." Any aspect of one's identity that fails to respect that boundary must be eliminated. As soon as you cease moving, you become unmovable. I regret disrupting your tranquility. When you understand that your energy is your empire and that you earn, not receive, access to it, you become untouchable. Becoming one's authentic self, according to Carl Jung, is a luxury. However, in exchange for that luxury, you must reject all efforts to distract you. Being perfect for everyone is not in your birthright. You are not made to accept every single request for your undivided attention. No one ever intended for you to be overworked because you were. Very good. Your purpose in life is to be strong and whole, not weak and hollowed out by duty. However, solid, the world does not desire you. Its goal is to have you be submissive, kind, predictable, and tired. It aims to make you dependent on the pleasurable feeling of consent, because it's easy to forget that you have spare time when you're always accepting things. A word that frightens the insecure is the first step toward true freedom. No, distractions are not welcome. Leave the drama alone. Nobody wants to hear no from you unless they really need something. No to the desire to satisfy. Stop trying to be someone you're not, and stop trying to achieve more all the time. Giving in to guilt makes you say no to yourself every time. The more you give in out of fear, the more likely it is that someone will cross your limits. Additionally, every betrayal is remembered by the mind. Every time you stifle your voice, put up with something you know is wrong, or ignore your gut feelings in favor of maintaining harmony, it keeps track of those experiences and grows resentful, buries anger, and impedes your ability to see things clearly. In order to achieve unwavering, you need to wean yourself off on validation. Protecting yourself, your time, and your voice is more important than performing. Defending your cause with all the fervor befitting a saint in a world that seeks to divert, dilute, and drain you. This is the starting point for Sahoria. That tingle of profound insight that tingles through your own being the moment you prioritize truth over tolerance. The spark that ignites when your affirmative statement is sincere and not just empty rhetoric. Flurries are not pleasure, absolute power, feeling the adrenaline rush. When you let go of your fears and live according to your soul. You have to be merciless with what you let in if you want to live in euphoria. You must cease being courteous if you do not want to meet your own demise. You need to cut ties with disorder once and for all, since it's masquerading as someone you knew as a child, a relative, or a friend. In order to become unshakable, one must face the pain of limits. Simply put, saying no lets you down more than just other people. A part of your former self is buried. The one who pleases others, provides assistance, rescues, dies for, and represents. Someone who found purpose in being indispensable. But your purpose in life was never to be indispensable. Being known is your purpose in life. You can't help but be misunderstood if you want it to happen. Because conviction is not something that everyone can understand. A soul that isn't for sale is too much for some people to handle. Allow them to be perplexed. Silence them. Embrace their departure. No one should expect to understand you. Being unmistakably authentic is your purpose here. That necessitates establishing boundaries. This necessitates revising the agreement, getting out of bed each morning, asking yourself, what is no longer welcome in my life? What did I allow yesterday that doesn't belong today? What am I still holding on to that's making me weak, unclear, and unavailable to my future? Because you cannot become unshakable. There are many forms of comfort, such as patterns, excuses, and the fake yes that keeps you small, waters you down, and gets you applause but robs you of alignment. Discipline is more than just doing what's expected of you. Challenging tasks. It entails rejecting the less challenging options. It involves letting go of what is nearly right in order to meet what is precisely aligned. It involves selecting monotony over disorder, silence over chatter, vision over validation. And the moment you begin to do that, you cease to bend, break, or explain your no as if it requires a PowerPoint presentation. Because when you know your identity, no becomes sacred, sharp, and a sword that slashes through every lie you once lived in. You were not. You weren't born to be accordable. You were born to be anchored. Anchored people don't falter. They don't waver in their opinions or try to change their appearance to attract attention. They enter a room with the confidence that says, if I'm too much for this space, then this space isn't enough for me, so let them wriggle and shrink and claim that you've changed because you've remembered that saying no isn't a rejection of others, but rather a reclamation of self. And from that self-reclamation, clarity, vision, purpose, and a new rhythm emerge. 1. A person who doesn't require disorder to feel alive, who doesn't require noise to feel valuable, and who doesn't say yes unless the soul agrees. This is the source of all power, and it starts with a word so innocent, so tiny, yet so terrifying. No. Because once you say no with your chest, your spine, your soul, you can't turn back. At some point in every transformation, your old self gasps for air, and your former identity begs you to soften, to compromise, to simply be liked again. 2. It's easier to say yes because it's nicer, because it avoids conflict and keeps the peace. But peace that is built on self-abandonment isn't peace, it's performance. It's a funeral veiled in diplomacy. It's quiet where your roar once lived. Becoming unshakable means letting go of your old identity, the agreeable, always available one, the one who needed to be seen to feel real, the one who said yes to stay safe, the one who needed to be seen. Burying it with honor and fire allows you to rise emptier, but with a different perspective. When you let go of what doesn't truly define you, you open yourself up to a new voice. It's not the world's noise, but the rhythm of your authentic self. This voice doesn't scream, beg, or ask for permission. It simply knows. When life challenges you, it knows how to handle it. It knows what to hold on to and what to let go of. It understands that true power isn't loud, but precise. And the most precise form of power is refusing, not out of fear, but of fullness, of the profound realization that your boundaries are not barriers, but rather windows into your values. What you choose to protect is a reflection of your self-worth. For those still on the path to healing, hearing the word no can be terrifying because it compels them to ask, what have I been letting go of that undermines the life I claim to desire? If you truly desire the life you claim to want, one that is free, clear, and focused, you will not achieve it by doing more. Rather, you will earn it by choosing less. This means less distractions, less compromising, and explaining. Without these qualities, you will be unable to live the life you envision for yourself, carry your future, and your need to be understood. Saying no is like closing a door. Every time you say it, you remind the universe that you are unavailable for anything that dilutes you. Unshakable people don't fight to be included. They build their own rooms. They walk with conviction, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. They know that discomfort is temporary, but they refuse to let it compromise their integrity. They choose the moment, they feel the sting, they let people react and go, and they stand still. They don't shake, they don't explain, and they don't justify their standards like they're negotiable because they are done. They're done being stretched for people who don't bend, done being drained by people who never pour back, and done being soft for a world that doesn't return their feelings. Regret is a life sentence that simply honors steel. That steel isn't frigid or cruel. It's sacred, and it's what lets you remain soft where it counts. With those who see you, respect you, and meet you where your no is already known. Because no isn't a rejection, but an alignment. It redirects your attention from distraction to destiny. It sets boundaries that make your yes meaningful again. And it acts as a gatekeeper for your time, attention, and sacred mind, allowing only those who bring respect inside. And when you begin to live that way, the world undergoes a transformation, not because things get easier, but because you gain clarity. You cease to seek power and instead embody it. Suddenly, the storms, rejections, and distractions that once shook you no longer do. Your soul now has structure, your mind has muscle, and your energy is no longer leaking out of every open door because you have finally decided to protect what's inside the temple. You become unshakable. It was never about becoming hard. It was about becoming holy. It was about coming back to yourself so completely and unabashedly that every no became a prayer for protection, a prayer for purpose, a prayer that declared, I will no longer betray myself to be included for the sake of acceptance. I will never longer give up on who I am. When my spirit tells me no, I will no longer answer yes. You change your gait after you get there. Instead of being haughty, be authoritative. Those who are calm and collected and who aren't afraid to just be themselves. Given that you are the proof, you made it. You were alert. Yours was restored. You have become unbreakable.